Hello everyone. In this lecture I am going to discuss unconfined compression test. Unconfined compression test. So by name you can get some idea, like unconfined, it means there is no confining pressure. There is no cell pressure. Mathematically we can say sigma 3 is 0, sigma c is 0. This unconfined compression test we can perform also by using the triaxial apparatus under the unconsolidated undrained test. So by using this, doing this test by using the triaxial compression test, so there is not required of cell pressure or rubber membrane. Okay, so this test we can perform for such soil which can stand without any confinement. Like we are not applying any sigma 3, we are not applying any cell pressure. So soil should have stand by its own. So that's why this test we cannot perform for a sandy soil. More or less we can say that this test we can perform for such soil having phi is equal to 0, having no angle of internal friction. Right. So let's discuss. So for using the unconfined compression test, we use a unconfined compression testing machine. So there is a two type of machine that I am going to discuss in the next slide. So the first one is the machine with the spring, and second one is the machine with the probing ring. So nowadays machine with the probing ring are mostly used, but in older days we can say machine with the spring was used. Okay, so let's discuss the both the machine, what are the mechanisms behind that. Okay, how a machine is applying the compressive load on the soil specimen, right? So let's discuss the machine with the spring. So in this figure you can see there is a unconfined compression testing machine. Okay, so the important thing is there on the top side there is a handle. So by rotating the handle, what we can do, we can stretch, or we can stretch the spring. Okay, the spring is mentioned. Okay, so in this figure, plate B is fixed. That is written also, fixed plate. Plate B is fixed means plate B will not move during the experiment. Plate C is the moving plate. So during the experiment, plate C will move on the upward direction. Right? And the same soil specimen is shown in this figure by dotted line. Okay, and that is attached by two metal cones, that is which attached to the fixed plate and this moving plate B and C. So soil specimen is placed between the two plates B and C, in which plate C is moving plate that will move upward during the experiment, and plate B is fixed. You can also see that one is the pin is attached to the moving plate C, and that is attached to the pivot, and one a spring is attached to the bottom cylinder spring is attached to the plate A, and plate A is directly attached to the plate C. So what is happening when we are rotating the handle? So we are then yoke Y will go upward and a spring will stretch towards upward. Okay, and what will happen? A spring will apply some compressive load on the soil specimen. Because we know that if a spring has some stiffness constant like K, so if a stretch we have stretched a value of delta x, so compressive load will be P is equal to K into delta x, right? And when we are spring is getting stretched, so plate A will move upward, and plate A is directly connected to the plate C. So plate C will move upward, and plate B is fixed. So one side of soil specimen is fixed, other side is moving upward. So soil sample will get compressed. Soil sample will get compressed. Okay. So delta x we can measure, where the delta x is the vertical movement of the pin related to the chart is equal to the extension of the spring. You have to understand the things, two things. Chart plate that is fixed with the yoke Y, and Y is plate fixed with the handle. So when you are rotating the handle, then whole system like yoke or upper part of this spring is going upward, and chart plate is fixed with the yoke Y, so chart plate is also going upward, right? Okay. This one pin is attached to the moving plate C, and that is attached to the pivot of this orthographic recording arm. So what is happening? What is the relative distance between this chart plate and this pivot? So that will give us the delta x. And by taking the reading on the chart plate, you can get the strain. You can get the axial strain. In this case, you can get the axial strain. So what is the axial strain? Whatever the change in length in a vertical direction divided by total length or original length of the soil specimen. So that will give us the axial strain, right? Okay, so chart gives the plot between the deformation and compressive force and the compressive force, right? Because chart is giving the delta x, we have the value of k, so we will multiply the k into delta x, we will get the compressive force. And chart is also giving the strain value, means change into length, delta L is giving, and L naught we have. So by taking the ratio, we can calculate the axial strain. Okay, so that these two things are important to conducting this test. While doing this test, we have to take the observation of delta x and delta L and delta x. So by knowing the value of delta x, we can calculate the compressive force, or by knowing the value of delta L, we can calculate the axial strain, right? We will perform this test until the soil gets fail, or until when we reach the 20% of a strain, 20% of ultimate strain, right? Okay. The second one, machine with the probing ring. So by naming also you can get some idea. Last time the spring was there. What was doing? Spring. So through the spring, by using the spring, we are applying a compressive load on the soil specimen. In this second case, by using the probing ring, we are applying the compressive, or we are measuring the compressive load. Okay, what value of compressing load which are applying on the soil specimen. So that is shown in the figure. So this beam and columns, all the parts are made by the stainless steel, and this the center portion of this given, and the dial gauge in the probing reed. By taking the dial gauge reading in the probing reed, that will give us the what are the value of compressive load that is applied on the soil specimen, right? So by taking the dial gauge reading which is fixed in the probing ring, that will give us the compressive force. Other dial gauge also fixed with the top plate, and that will give us the axial strain. I think it means that will give us the vertical displacement. Do not confuse. That will give the delta L. But we can calculate axial strain also by dividing the L value. Delta L by L, we can get the axial strain, right? But in the case of probing ring, last time in the previous first part, a spring was there. Now in this case, probing ring is there. Okay, so every probing ring there is a calibration chart. So you have to count the dial gauge reading, the division in the dial gauge reading which is in probing ring, and by using the calibration chart, you can calculate the compressive force, right? Okay. Presentation of results. So that is very important. What the calculation we are doing, what the observation we are taking during the experiment, and what conclusion, what the results, what conclusion we are getting. Okay, so that is very important. So it is the unconfined compression test. Unconfined means there is no confining pressure, there is no cell pressure, means sigma 3 is 0. Sigma 3 is 0. So what will be the sigma 1? Sigma 1 will be, sigma 1 was the total stress on the vertical which is applying on the downward direction on the soil specimen, or upward direction if you take in the bottom. So in the triaxial test, sigma 1 was, sigma 1 is equal to sigma d plus sigma 3. So in this case, sigma 3 is 0. So sigma 1 will be equal to sigma d, or sigma d in this case is P by A, where P is the applied load, or we can say applied compressive load, where A is the area of cross section at that point of time, right? Okay. So the axial stress at which the specimen fail is known as the unconfined compressive strength, and it is generally denoted by QU. And it's very important. The axial stress at which specimen failed, it is known as the unconfined compressive strength. So when you are applying a compressive load on a solid specimen, so what is happening? Length is reducing. Total length is getting reduced. Okay, and area, cross section area is getting increased because it will form a bulging shape, right? So what will happen? Area of cross section of solid specimen will increase, and that will be not equal to the original of this whatever the original cross section area of solid specimen. So by using this formula that I have also already have derived in the previous lecture, A is equal to A naught divided by 1 minus epsilon, where epsilon is the axial strain delta L by L, and where is the A naught is the original or initial cross section area of solid specimen. Why I am using the both things? Like we can write, in this case we can write A naught also, or we can write AI also, because this is not consolidation process. Consolidation process is not happening. Consolidation process is not happening in this case. There is no consolidation process. So in this case, AI or A naught is both are equal. Right? Do not confuse. Last time we have discussed in the pre-axial test, like what is the AI or what is the A naught. There is a 3 stage, like 2 stage consolidation. Then all the volume get changed, all the dimension get changed, then again shear stage, then all the dimension get changed. In this case only shear stage, not a consolidation stage. So in this case A naught or AI are equal. A naught and AI are equal, okay? And A is the cross section area of solid specimen at any point of time, right? Good. So now whatever the data we get, we can draw on this tau sigma axis, where the sigma tau is the shear stress on the vertical axis and sigma is the normal stress on the horizontal axis. So now we have the two coordinates on that we can locate, and by locating the two coordinates we have the two principal stresses, like minor principal stress and major principal stress. So by knowing those two principal stress, we can draw the Mohr circle. So sigma 3 is 0. What is the sigma 3? Sigma 3 is the minor principal stress, and sigma 1 is the major principal stress. Sigma 3 is 0. It means it will coincide with the origin, and there is a sigma 1. Sigma 1 will be in a positive direction. Why? Because we are applying the compressive load or compressive force on a soil specimen. So there is a compressive stress. So in the soil, in the case of soil mechanics, we take the compressive stress as a positive. So we can draw Mohr circle. So it will be like this. So in this case, by figure you can understand that this failure envelope will be horizontal. In this case, failure envelope will be horizontal. And we are doing for saturated clay, non-fissure saturated clay. So the phi will be 0. So phi will be 0. It means failure envelope will be horizontal. So there is no phi. Only there is a cohesion intercept. Or by this figure you can say that whatever the cohesion intercept, that is the radius of Mohr circle. That is the radius of Mohr circle. Right? And radius of Mohr circle will be equal to half of diameter. What is the diameter here? Diameter is sigma 1 or QU. Right? QU. So we can write S is equal to S is the shear strength of a soil. It's equal to CU means cohesion intercept in the case of unconfined compression test. Is equal to sigma 1. Sigma 1 is the major principal stress divided by 2. Is equal to QU divided by 2. Let's discuss the numerical. Okay, the first numerical we have, unconfined compression test was conducted on a undisturbed sample of clay. The sample had a diameter of 37.5 mm and was 80 mm long. So sample dimension is given. Okay, the load at a failure measured by the probing ring. So in this test, the machine with the probing ring instrument has used. Okay, so probing ring was 28 Newton, and the axial deformation of the sample at a failure was 13 mm. Axial deformation means delta L. Axial strain means delta L by L. Okay, the axial deformation, it means 13 mm, that is given delta L. Determine the unconfined compressive strength. We have to calculate the QU and the undrained shear strength of the clay. Then we have to calculate the S, right? So let's calculate the initial area of the cross area of the specimen. We can write AI also, we can write A0 also. Both are the same thing for unconfined compression test. Unconfined compression test, okay? So that we can calculate by pi by 4 into d square into length. Pi by 4 into d square. So that we get 1105 mm square. We can calculate the axial strain by dividing delta L by L. So delta L we have 13 mm or L we have 80 mm. So that we get 0.162. Or axial strain is a unitless quantity. So 0.162 there is no unit, okay? Corrected area of the specimen at a failure we can calculate, because every time that area is getting changed. Okay, so we can calculate by using the formula A is equal to A0 divided by 1 minus epsilon, or epsilon L we can write to denote the axial strain. So by putting all the value, we can get the 1315 mm square. So in the initial case area was the 1105, now is 1315, means area get increased. So unconfined compressive strength we can calculate. So first we can calculate so whatever the value, that is sigma 1 is equal to QU, or sigma 1 is equal to P by A. So what is the P? P is the compressive load, that is 28 Newton, and area at the failure condition is 1315 mm square. So that we get 21.3 kilonewton per meter square. So it is the unconfined compressive strength. You can write sigma 1 is equal to QU is equal to 21.3 kilonewton per meter square. Right? Okay. So now we can calculate the undrained shear strength. So undrained shear strength is the half of the unconfined compression strength. Means we have seen the S is equal to CU is equal to half of sigma 1 is equal to half of QU. So we can write QU divided by 2, 21.3 divided by 2, that is 10.7 kilonewton per meter square. 7.7 kilonewton per meter square. 10.7, right? So this question you can draw, you can make this question you can solve by drawing the Mohr circuit also, but formula is enough to solve this question. Okay. These are the references that I have taken. In the coming slides, in the coming lecture, I am going to discuss some more numerical problem and on the triaxial compression test, on direct shear test, on vane shear test. So in the next lecture, I am going to discuss the vane shear test, and then I will discuss the more and more numerical problem from the IS, from the gate, from the shear strength of the side. Okay, thank you.